The Armourer's Challenge by Mima Phonus. 300 years ago, when Katara became Empress, the first and only Dunmer to rule all of Tamriel, she faced opposition from the Imperial Council. Even after she convinced them that she would be the best regent to rule the Empire while her husband Pelagius sought treatment for his madness, there was still conflict, in particular from the Duke of Vengoto, Thane Minglemaya, who took a particular delight in exposing all of the Empress's lack of practical knowledge. In this particular instance, Katara and the Council were discussing the unrest in Black Marsh and the massacre of Imperial troops outside the village of Ammonius. The sodden swampland and the sweltering climate, particularly in summertide, would endanger the troops if they wore their usual armour. "I know a very clever armourer," said Katara. "His name is Hazadea, an Argonian who knows the environment our army will be facing. I know him in Vivek, where he was a slave to the master armourer there, before he moved to the Imperial city as a freed man. We shall have him design armour and weaponry for the campaign." Minglemaya gave a short barking laugh. "She wants a slave to design the armour and weaponry for our troops. Sir Aurelius Saccas is the finest armourer in the Imperial city. Everyone knows that." After much debate, it was finally decided to have both armourers contend for the commission. The council also elected two champions of equal power and prowess, Nandor Barade and Raphaelus Uhl, to battle using the arms and armaments of the real competitors in the struggle. Whichever champion won, the armourer who supplied him would earn the Imperial commission. It was decided that Barade would be outfitted by Hazadeh and Uhl by Saccas. The fight was scheduled to commence in 7 days. Sir Aurelius Saccas began work immediately. He would have preferred more time, but he recognised the nature of the test. The situation in Ammonius was urgent. The Empire had to select their armourer quickly. Once selected, the preferred armourer had to act swiftly and produce the finest armour and weaponry for the Imperial army in Black Marsh. It wasn't just the best armourer that we were looking for, it was the most efficient. Saccas had only begun steaming the half-inch strips of black virgin oak to bend into bands for the flanges of the armour joints when there was a knock at the door. His assistant Thaddeus ushered in the visitor. He was a tall reptilian of common markings, a dull, green-fringed hood, bright black eyes, and a dull brown cloak. It was Hazadeh, Katara's preferred armourer. "I want to wish you the best of luck on the... Is that ebony?" It was indeed. Saccas had brought the finest quality ebony weave available in the Imperial city as soon as he heard of the competition, and had begun the process of smelting it. Normally it was a 6-month procedure refining the ore, but he hoped that a massive convection oven, stoked by white flames born of magicka, would sort the operation to 3 days. Saccas proudly pointed out the other advancements in his armoury: the acidic lime pulls to sharpen the blade of the daikatana to an unimaginable degree of sharpness, the akaviri forge and tongs he would use to fold the ebony back and forth upon itself. Hazadeh laughed. "Have you been to my armoury? It's 2 tiny smoke-filled rooms. The front is a shop, the back is filled with broken armour, some hammers and a forge. That's it. That's your competition for the millions of gold pieces in Imperial commission." "I'm sure the Empress has some reason to trust you to outfit her troops," said Sir Aurelius Saccas kindly. He had after all seen the shop and knew that Hazadeh said was true. It was a pathetic workshop in the slums, fit only for the lowest of adventurers to get their iron daggers and cuirasses repaired. Saccas had decided to make the best quality regardless of the inferiority of his rival. It was his way, and how to become the best armourer in the Imperial city. Out of kindness, and more than a bit of pride, Saccas showed Hazadeh how, by contrast, things should be done in a real professional armoury. The Argonian acted as an apprentice to Saccas, helping him refine the ebony ore and to pound it and fold it when it cooled. Over the next several days they worked together to create a beautiful daikatana with an edge honed sharp enough to trim a mosquito's eyebrows, enchanted with flames along its length by one of the Imperial battle mages, as well as a suit of armour of bound wood, leather, silver and ebony to resist the winds of oblivion. On the day of the battle, Saccas, Hazadeh and Thaddeus finished polishing the armour and brought in Raphaelus Uhl for the fitting. Hazadeh left only then, realising that Nandor Barade would be at his shop shortly to be outfitted. The two warriors met before the Empress and Imperial Council in the arena, which had been flooded slightly to simulate the swampy conditions of Black Marsh. From the moment Saccas saw Uhl in his suit of heavy ebony and blazing daikatana, and Barade in his collection of dusty, rusted lizard scales and spear from Hazadeh's shop, he knew he would win. And he was right. The first blow from the daikatana lodged in Barade's soft shield, as there was no metal trim to deflect it. Before Uhl could pull his sword back, Barade let go of the now flaming shield still stuck on the sword and poked at the joints of Uhl's ebony armour with his spear. Uhl finally retrieved his sword from the ruined shield and slashed at Barade, but his light armour was scaled and angled, and the attacks rolled off into the water, extinguishing the daikatana's flames. When Barade struck at Uhl's feet, he fell into the churned mud and was unable to move. The Empress, out of mercy, called a victor. Hazadir received the commission, and thanks to his knowledge of Argonian battle tactics and weaponry and how best to combat them, he designed implements of war that brought down the insurrection in Armanius. Katara won the respected council, and even grudgingly that of Thane Miglamaya. Sorella Sakkas went to Morrowind to learn what Hazardus learned there, and was never heard from again.